Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we're discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 2, Episode 26, The Jem'Hadar. And this is the Season 2 finale. During a camping trip to the Gamma Quadrant, Sisko and Quark are taken prisoner by the Jem'Hadar, who make extreme demands about ceasing use of the wormhole. The prisoners are rescued at great cost and for questionable reason.
What did you think of this episode upon revisit?
Well, it was good fun. It's a key episode, I guess that's kind of obvious. It's introducing the Jem'Hadar, expanding on the Dominion, portraying the Jem'Hadar as pretty scary guys.
Yeah, they have ways around basically everything the Federation can do.
Yeah, they were kind of powerless. I think what really nailed it was when the guy just steps through the force field.
That's a good moment because he gives them the false sense that it worked. He stands there and then, I'll let this ruse end now.
Yeah, beaming through shields. Eris just beams away to nothing at the end.
Yeah, they can't even trace her.
So they're certainly an interesting race to have added to the series.
We don't often talk about makeup and costuming, but their makeup is so good.
The Jem'Hadar.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are kind of unpleasant looking.
Overly scaly.
They seemed very tough, but then Sisko KO'd a bunch of them, and you think, they're not all that. And then later on, you find out it was all a ruse, so I guess we don't know if they were just taking a fall.
All in the name of a good illusion.
The good illusion, they killed hundreds of people. They blew up a Galaxy-class ship in a kamikaze strike.
That was really unsettling.
Yeah, all for the sake of getting one person as a spy in the Federation.
It really set these guys up as willing to do anything.
They clearly don't give a damn about what is reasonable, which will make them effective villains, I'm sure.
The commander that was introduced, it was still It was shocking to me when his ship blew up. Even though he's not an established character, it was really shocking to have him just taken away like that, him and his crew.
Yeah, it was quite visually striking to have a Enterprise-like ship just blown to smithereens.
Meanwhile, the runabouts are unscathed, despite being tiny little things.
Yeah, well, they would have cleaned them up if they wanted to. I guess that kind of gives it away as a ruse as well.
Oh, right. Why would they take out this giant ship and leave these tiny ones?
Yeah, they didn't seem to have much compassion. They had a kind of zero tolerance thing going on.
Speaking of runabouts, we find out that they do have autopilot.
Yeah, I actually really like the Jake Nog stuff in this episode. I think they've come a long way since season 1 with their moronic side plots they had there. This one, I felt they were actually tackling problems in a way that was funny, engaging, interesting, just actually good rather than bad.
I agree. It was a lot of figuring out stuff, and Nog freaking out was rather hilarious.
Ferengi are a lot of fun. It's like what Dak said earlier in the season. If you manage to overlook all their hideous character flaws, they can be quite a good laugh. There's another humorous Ferengi moment when Quark went on fire.
Quark's screaming will never get old for me.
He works behind a bar. You think he'd be a little bit handy with fires and stuff and cooking.
Surely there's some sort of bar drink that's on fire, that's served on fire.
Oh, that's totally common on Earth, so I bet there would be loads in space that are on fire, unless it's like a health and safety issue.
Oh, Odo wouldn't allow it.
Yeah, Quark would do it anyway, though. Come on. Alcohol burns transparent. Oh, well, to humans. Maybe Odo can see it. Talking of things being transparent, the Jem'Hadar have predator-like cloaks.
Oh, right. They swooped in when we first meet them.
Yeah, and a couple other instances as well. That's kind of interesting. It's actually the same as, do you remember Tosk from season 1?
I do remember Tosk, and I was reminded of Tosk because his makeup was so good as well.
Yeah, there was some cut dialogue from this episode that related the Tosk cloak to the Jem'Hadar cloak in some way, as in they're part of the same tech. I don't want to be more specific because I think the actual dialogue would have revealed more than they really revealed in this episode.
Oh, okay. Let's keep a lid on it then.
Quark murdered someone, personally, with his hands and a gun.
He seemed okay with it.
He seemed kind of okay with it. It wasn't like Garrick when he
No.
first murdered someone and was like, ha. Quark was kind of like, ooh, okay.
I really liked how Quark weaseled himself onto the runabout to tag along for the trip. He basically told Cisco, "You're a raging racist if you don't allow me to ride along in the runabout."
Yeah, he was really getting up in Cisco's face about his anti-Ferengi attitude. And I think it's kind of interesting. Ferengi are kind of silly at best. They have some interesting social point, but it's good to see them or Cisco's kind of dismissal of them being brought up as it kind of fleshes out their race as one that it gives them more kind of reality, because if he just laid down and took it the whole time and didn't care that the commander is basically a racist to him, then it kind of devalues their race, especially as they're quite shameless in every way. So it wouldn't make sense if he just didn't care.
Yeah, it added dimension to the Ferengi, and it made me like the Ferengi even more. The only thing that sort of fell flat for me was in that particular little spiel was when he brings up slavery. We know the Ferengi treat women as property, and I guess it's not completely analogous, but it's just a weird thing for him to bring up.
Well, he was saying that the Ferengi are like humans in the past, but they're not as bad. So, yeah, maybe Cisco could have pushed him on that point.
But I did like the overall argument that Cisco's projecting and the Ferengi just make humans uncomfortable because they're a constant reminder.
Oh, when he mentions slavery, that's a sci-fi triple: slavery, concentration camps, interstellar wars.
Yeah, there it is
Distant
again.
past, recent past, made up one from the future.
That's guaranteed, though. If humans gain the ability for interstellar travel, we are going to start some wars.
Yeah, either we'll find life out there and basically at some point decide to have a Rami, or we'll just kick the crap out of ourselves, but in space.
Yeah.
Some of the Russian space launches, they went up with shotguns and stuff.
I did not know that.
It was actually for the landing, because, well, the landings aren't that accurate. They kind of aim for land, but whereabouts exactly isn't quite easy. You can't easily hit a target, especially with the early launches, so they might end up somewhere quite remote and have to defend themselves against bears or something. It was not
That makes sense.
It was not for space to space
Space battles.
A shotgun would not be useful for that.
Hey, you never know.
Pistols at dawn.
Nothing like a good shotgun at your side.
So how do you feel this episode rounded off the season?
It did a good job of raising the stakes. These guys are a serious threat. We found out more about the Dominion, which has been mentioned previously, so it's expanding previously mentioned lore. It sets up a threat for season 3, and it was fun. Some good conversations, such as the one between Quark and Cisco. We see Kira keep her cool and are reminded that she would be a great leader, that she can delegate and perform under pressure. We got a rule of acquisition, which is always fun.
Oh yeah. 102. Nature decays, but Latinum is forever.
I guess Latinum market can never crash.
I'm not sure that rule is particularly good.
No, but I always like when they come up anyway, just to pick them apart and be a jerk about it.
Yeah, I mean, nature doesn't really decay. It propagates. Well, fine, whatever. I don't know. I don't think it's got much deep meaning, so
No, there's not much to extract from that.
it's probably why it's 102 and not 8 or 3 or something.
They must feel a lot less pressure when they assign a higher number.
I wonder if they assign a number based on how good they think it is.
Oh, this isn't very good. Better be in the triple digits.
Yeah, well, makes sense.
Yeah, if you can't be bothered to write a better rule, just raise the number. Do you have any criticisms?
Not particularly. Just that the one I mentioned right at the start. Why did they go rescue Cisco and Quark and Jake and Nog? They used hundreds of lives, presumably, to save 4 lives. It wasn't even really clear why they were doing that.
No, it wasn't.
I mean, I'm sure they wanted them back, but no one was really... I mean, I'm reminded of the previous episode where Keiko was desperate for the Deep Space Nine crew to save O'Brien. But in this episode, there's no one really saying, they wanted them back, but it wasn't like an immediate pressure. I guess they wanted to see how tough the Dominion were. But that's kind of stupid, in a way.
Yeah, you shouldn't send a ship full of people to assess a new threat.
Well, maybe. I mean, it's kind of good they did, in a way, because they know they're completely inadequate.
The criticism I have is very minor. When Nog boards the runabout, he says something about always wanting to know what it looks like when he has access to holosuites and he could just make it conjure a runabout and he could see it in perfect detail.
Yeah, there wouldn't be any surprises left for a dirty Ferengi. Plus, would you really care that much?
Yeah, he was super excited.
I mean, they have spaceships, like huge ones and stuff. This is like you travel to, I don't know, Italy, get in a taxi, and you're like, oh, I was wanting to see what the inside of an Italian taxi looks like. Oh, maybe that's why he was so excited. It was so mundane, he'd never actually seen it.
Well, maybe the runabouts are iconic and people really want to see them.
They're not. I'm not buying that, not for a second.
Well, I live in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, and people always want to see the Golden Gate Bridge, but the Bay Bridge is much more impressive from an engineering standpoint.
Okay, both of those are better than a runabout, which is just a minivan. No one comes to San Francisco and says, what's your best sort of car that most people drive? Oh, I had another criticism.
Was it Eris's sneeze attack?
Well, yeah, it's odd they didn't put anything in that collar.
Oh, I was going to complain about that collar until the reveal that she was a spy, because it wouldn't make any sense to attach a collar like that to someone and not put a kill switch or something to prevent them from tampering with it.
Yeah, I thought it was going to do that sort of battle royale style
Yeah.
head explosion or something. Oh, I remembered what it was that I was going to say. They went to a completely uninhabited planet, and then they happened to run into someone who's running from someone else. They should immediately have suspected it was a ruse. The chances of that are ridiculous.
Cisco was too swept in the moment of being on vacation with his son and Nog.
Swept off his feet by a telekinetic blast.
Yeah.
He got a direct hit with that, and then he just got up and was fine.
He's Cisco.
Yeah, but then if that could disable the force field, surely just, I don't know, take your shoe off and throw that into the force field. That seemed to be about the strength of it. So who was your MVP for this season?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Hold on. I'm gonna go with Dax because they finally acted on the potential and promise of that character, and they had good episodes with her. How about you?
I would probably say O'Brien, because he had some real moments this season. I agree about Dax. She is a character now, whereas last season she was just nothing.
Yeah, she was barely even a prop.
But for me, MVP is O'Brien. I think my favorite episode of this season is probably Whispers, where he is unknowingly a clone. That one is probably one of my favorite ones. Because it's so clever.
Yeah, it's a great episode.
And the previous episode with O'Brien in jail. And some of the other points when he was stranded with Bashir and dying. Or listening to them now makes me realize how bad he has it compared to everyone else. But Colm Meaney is a really versatile guy, and he's it's great to see him putting his skills to the forefront and actually really leading a few episodes, and them being good episodes. So he's my MVP.
Excellent choice.
So who's the least valuable player?
I'm not sure.
I'm surprised.
Why? Who would you think?
Name begins with B.
Bashir?
No. Think more Bajoran and religious.
Oh, I didn't know we were including characters on the fringe.
Well,
I do my best to block Baral from my memory.
fair enough.
But yeah, he would be mine for sure.
I guess we didn't see that much from Rome this season.
Yeah, he was really missing in action here.
He was in what was it? Necessary Evil, doing all that stuff, hacking through the walls and showing some quirky kind of practical skills all of a sudden, and then he kind of vanished. Hasn't been seen for quite a few episodes.
Yeah.
So it's a shame. I only say he's bad in the season because he wasn't in it, and I like his character. He's interesting.
Yeah, they've made better use of him this season. Either that or I'm finally noticing it. I'm not sure which.
No, they did interesting things with him. He just wasn't in it a whole lot. It's like Garrick in season 1. He's only in one episode, so he kind of doesn't register so much.
Along those lines, I like how in this season there are a bunch of moments of humor that are really good and they don't take central focus. It's either something happening in the background or something that happens really quickly in the beginning of a new scene. And as an example, in this episode, we have Quark speaking to Morn and then telling him how he'll listen, and then he shrugs him off. My favorite instance was when Bashir couldn't find a condiment bottle that actually had anything in it while having a conversation with Dax. Those moments seem more plentiful in this season, and they're so welcome. It makes the scenes feel livelier. I like them a lot.
Even in this episode, we saw Jake and Nog just losing it every time the computer said something. And it was natural and funny. It wasn't set out as a comedy scene, but it was comedic, and that made it more kind of personal.
Yeah, I guess they're more natural and not as forced as some bits have been in the past.
Well, it's a drama show, so you can't force comedy scenes. So these little side jokes they do are a lot better. Interesting, you mentioned that bit where he cuts Morn off. This is another piece of mindless trivia that I don't think anyone will care about, but in the German dub, Morn
I like where this is going.
Morn actually says something. In the English version, you can hear him breathing in, but in the German one, he's about to say something before Quark cuts him off, which is interesting because Morn doesn't speak, as you may have noticed. He's a silent character.
That's an interesting creative decision. I always wonder about stuff like that gets lost in translation or modified whenever I watch foreign films, because you don't know unless you have awareness of the language from which it's being translated.
Yeah, I guess they just didn't know he was silent, or just assumed that he could have had a line there, so they got a bit creative with it. But yeah, so far he's laughed once, and in this episode he inhaled. So they're not actual lines, but it's a running joke that he never actually says anything. But in the German dub, he actually says a couple of words here.
Was immer du auf dem Herzen hast, ich bin für dich da. Ach, vergiss es nicht. Ach, was hat gesagt?
So, I guess it's time to ask, do you have a quote of the show, if not the season?
Oh man, I didn't know it would be loaded and carry the weight of the season.
I have to pick one line from this episode which sums up both this episode and the entire season.
Hold on. The way I see it, humans used to be a lot like Ferengi, greedy, acquisitive, interested only in profit. We're a constant reminder of a part of your past you'd like to forget. Making peace with your past is a difficult thing to do.
Yes, I think everyone has had that moment where they remembered something they did a decade ago and just then want to curl up into a ball and cease to exist because of the cringe of it.
And that sums up this season, because this season will always have the specter of season 1 hovering over it and trying to move away from past transgressions.
Well, they did a good job of moving forward. They improved a lot of the problems that were constant through season 1.
Oh, absolutely. This season is so much better than season 1. Just the average episode is so much better than what we were seeing in season 1.
Yeah, out of interest, if you had to pick one episode from this season, what would you pick? I already said I would pick Whispers, so you have to pick a different one.
Is there any other choice other than Whispers?
There's plenty of good episodes. Necessary Evil was a good one.
I'll go with... Well, I chose Dax as my MVP, so I think it would be fitting if I chose a Dax episode, and I really liked Blood Oath, so I'll go with that. The Klingons were so much fun to hang out with.
It's a good choice. It was an entertaining episode, and that is kind of what you want from a show, entertainment.
It's a good example of what I want from this show, and that's storylines that could only be done in this universe, and they make use of their characters. This storyline only works for Dax, and it's a lot of fun.
Good stuff. It's good that we actually had to pick this time, because season 1, it's pretty much Duet or maybe Captive Pursuit.
No, it's Duet. That's it.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's nice we had a few ones that could qualify as being the best rather than just one obvious, almost out of place episode.
It is out of place. It's so strange how much better that episode is compared to everything else.
They just were in the zone. They got it. Sometimes things come together. So, as a pointless tangent at the end, there was a touching moment where Kira talks to Odo. He wants to go on a mission because he doesn't want the Dominion to capture Quark, because he secretly loves Quark.
It's not so much a secret to us.
Yeah, we've worked it out, because we are detectives too. Anyway, Kira says to Odo, "Odo, keep your head down." As soon as she said that, in my mind, I just imagined Odo shape-shifting, moving his head down to his crotch, and then saying something like, "I've got it covered, don't worry."
Is this down enough?
It's probably a good thing I'm not a shapeshifter.
Oh, the antics. I wanted to bring up one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sisko says, "I won't try to corrupt him with my human values," trying to comfort Quark in Sisko's dealings with Nog. And it reminded me of a Nietzsche quote: "The surest way to corrupt a youth is to instruct him to hold in higher esteem those who think alike than those who think differently." It brought that to my mind because he used the word corrupt, and he's talking about the proper way to raise children. And it would be weird to want to isolate a child. If you're a Ferengi, they should be exposed to as many cultures as possible so they can more effectively exploit them. It just made me think about that, and it doesn't make sense for acquisition to focus solely on Ferengi.
Yeah, they kind of have a few badly written attributes, like they don't value learning to read, despite the fact that's incredibly valuable in business. But I guess they're kind of a race that wouldn't actually make that much sense, so some of it is just stitching it together, so you don't think about it too much.
Yeah, these things aren't meant to be poured over.
Oh, whoops. We've wasted our time then.
I guess we're done.
Oh, okay. On to season 3. Good times.
Yeah, I'm excited. We have a new threat, better understanding of characters, better writing. Should be good.
Is there one thing you'd like to see in season 3?
I don't really have a wish list. The things I wanted them to correct, they've addressed. I guess I just want to see a greater ratio of great episodes. And that happened with this season compared to season 1.
So let's see if they can step it up another level.
Oh, I thought of one thing. For Baral to die a horrible death.
What?
No, I didn't say that.
You really don't like that guy. What kind of death would you want for Barile?
Something involving flames.
Like burning? Or what? Something fast or slow? I guess you'd probably pick slow.
You know what? Let's not drag it out. Just
okay.
Take him out, and I don't want to have to hear his death screams.
Like, I don't know if I can promise this will happen or not. You have some very odd requests.
I bet his death screams are as lifeless as his line readings.
Oh, I'm dying. It really hurts.
Kira, I can't believe I'm dying.
Okay, no, stop. That's it. The end.
Yeah, I think we're done.